Hello, good afternoon. I am earlier than normal today. Nice to see you nice. I know there's only a few people here. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the usual, do a bit of an introduction, do some silent sitting, and then do an introduction and question and answer. You can ask questions through Skype. So if you're not friends with me now on Skype, you can just send a friend's request, and it's Lisa Cairns 12. And you can ask questions, either writing or calling. But if you want to speak to me, don't just call in. Call me, and then I will call you, and we can have a talk. And just put "call me" without anything else underneath, so I can see it in the chat, nice and simply. I used to do the talks right at the beginning on Sundays at 2 p.m. But I made it 8 p.m. I think, and then to 6 p.m. So this is when I used to do the talks. Yes, it means Australia can join in, which is nice for Australia, but maybe people didn't get the message in time. They changed the talk time. Okay, so we do a bit of a meditation. Oh, do remember I can do everything on my lap. You see, if I touch my computer, it makes the camera wobble, and then you will get seasickness. So we do a meditation, and you're welcome to do whatever you want. I often describe it. So you can just do some sitting. You can do mindfulness of breathing, or you can do putting your attention into the I am. Whatever you like, I don't mind. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we shall begin. What did I put the title as? Let me have a look. What does emptiness mean? Talk at 2 p.m. rather than 6 p.m. today, 20th of June. So what is emptiness? What does emptiness mean? Well, emptiness can mean so many different things in so many different contexts. In psychology, emptiness can mean like lack of personality, can feel negative, like you have an empty feeling. The bag is empty. And then you can have it in context of non-duality. And I meant it in the context of non-duality. Let me just make sure that everything is being heard. Yes, the microphone is working. So all there is what's happening. Like right now. There is the sound of the computer humming. There is the beautiful blue sky with white clouds passing through. There is the trees blowing gently in the breeze. There is the sound of a car driving past. There is the red brick of another house and the black tiles on the roof. 3 windows. There is Khaleesi's table that she sits on to look outside the window. A water bottle that sprays the plants. Diffuser. My teddy bears. Khaleesi sitting in her bed. And all of that is empty. And everything that I described isn't actually the words in which I describe, which is so freaking beautiful. That's so beautiful. So none of it actually means anything. And none of it's actually coming from somewhere. So our assumption is it comes from the past. It's coming from something. It's going somewhere. And we're always in that world of where does everything come from? Where is everything going? Who am I? Me in relationship to the world. The mind is always in that world, and then it has an energy that appears in the body. And so what that means is that everything is empty. It's all empty of meaning. It's all empty of purpose. It's not that you or I are here for a purpose, or the tree is here for a purpose. That's in the imagination. The actual reality is it is here. It is blooming. It is vibrant. It is alive. Right here. But it doesn't actually mean anything. The words, a tree is growing towards the sky, doesn't actually mean anything. It just means something in the context of our communication. But in this moment, it means nothing. In this moment, everything is just a happening. And so if that's true about the outside world, it's also true for the inside world. That the you in which you think you are is an imagination that's going in time, and not actually who you are. It's something that's already left. The me is something that's already gone. It's gone, it's gone, it's gone. It's like trying to catch water in your hand. It's gone, it's gone, it's gone. But the society, most people are living in the hypnosis that they are something, they are someone experiencing out of this body, rather than this body and the person being a description which is appearing and disappearing in time. So everything about you, who you think yourself to be, isn't who you are. That's not who's looking now, and that's not who's speaking now. So your projection onto me is that I am a Lisa that is speaking, whereas that's an impossibility. That's your imagination. It's actually that speaking is coming out of mystery. Speaking is coming out of no place, which is unknown. But yet it's happening and it's being watched, but not by you. This is like the best news ever. This is so exciting and so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And to me, that is what the suffering is. So the suffering to me isn't pain or pleasure. It isn't feeling pain because somebody upset you, or feeling angry, or joy, or losing your joy. That is just flow that's happening. To me, the suffering is the identification with a personality that doesn't really exist. It just seems to exist. And our personality, like what we call ourselves, is a combination of habits and descriptions about what we do. So a lot of it, like who we believe ourselves to be, is about movement. Whereas actually, in a way, you could say we're always still. There is stillness and movement happening all the time. But what we say we are is like descriptions of movement. Like, I am a lawyer, like that's an activity. I am a good person, that's an activity. I am a happy person, that's an activity. It might not seem like it might seem like a feeling, but it is. It's like a response to something. I am a kind person, a generous person. I like to run. I am very intelligent. Like, all of these are things that are going in time, but they're not actually talking about what's experiencing now. And what's experiencing now has never been separate from what is. That's so profound. That's so different from what is regularly talked about. So right now, the speaking that's coming out of this mouth, which looks like it comes from somebody called Lisa to people who believe in the timeline, is actually appearing out of everything. This is everything speaking. It just seems like it's Lisa speaking. You could, if you really want to go more scientifically, you could say it's like energy speaking now. So this is energy speaking to energy. But this energy contains awareness, like it's conscious of this experience happening. I'm not talking about self-awareness. That's a phenomenon that's appearing in the person. That's again a description I'm talking about. There is perception of this happening that's beyond the person. It's all so impersonal life. So impersonal. And so every move is like that. So this isn't actually Lisa moving. That's how we describe it, and that's how we stop people not putting us in the mental institute. We say, this is Lisa moving. Woo! But it's not actually Lisa moving. This is everything moving. So this hand is being moved by energy, by everything. It's so impersonal. It's not you. It's not you that is moving. It's not you that is listening. There's something beyond that. Like, you could say like a step prior, but it's not really prior because it's everywhere. It's everything doing it. But it's a step prior to who you think yourself to be. So you think yourself to be as the person that wants to wake up, that's sitting listening to me, that likes this, that doesn't like this, but then there's something that's experiencing that. Well, that is appearing in something much bigger, and that experience is totally empty. It's empty, 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 empty. Boo. Cutie. It's empty. So the tree is blowing now because of that emptiness. The bird is flying like it was just flying. And that's emptiness flying. This is emptiness ear-ringing. This is air airing. And it's all from the same emptiness, that same no place. It's like a love affair. Like in this very moment, and there's not the zooming in on the personal, like it is a love affair beyond the person. That doesn't mean like you are happy. Like I can have emotions, so if like so I'm sitting here and it's like this is like a love affair, and then someone could come in and annoy me, and then there would be annoyance in the love affair. There could be crying in the love affair. Ugh, it's so hard to talk about, isn't it? Oops, wrong thing, Lisa. You can use your lap. Yeah. So everything is coming from that no place. And this is what everything is made of, what everything is. The anger, the love, the joy, the murderer, the dog, and it's all not that. It's all not that. They're like breezes in the wind, they're like the clouds forming different shapes. The murderer is like a cloud, like all these different things come together and create this appearance, but it's not actually what they are, who they are. This is absolute forgiveness. This is absolute forgiveness. There is no one that's ever sinned. There is no one that ever did anything. Life is a happening. It doesn't belong to you or to me or to Khaleesi or to God. It's a happening. And that which is doing all of this is an absolute mystery. We can't find it. We can't grab hold of it. We can't consume it, commodify it. It's there in everything. In the plastic, in the shit, in the bog, in the tree, in the houses. It's absolute acceptance of all of this. But it's nobody accepting. It just embraces. It totally embraces. This is love. So this is love speaking. This is love listening. And love is unconditioned. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. Love isn't a thing. It doesn't belong to anyone or anything. It's unconditioned love. It's not the I love you and we're going to spend our life together. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's in the human world. Okay, so if you've got sunflowers, thanks Nick. So if you've got any questions, then you can ask me on Lisa Cairns 12 Skype address, and you can write them now. There is absolutely no questions currently. And if you want to call in, then press call me. So this might be a good opportunity if you don't regularly ask questions, because there's nobody currently with any questions. Amazing. There's 78 people watching. Nobody has a question. And you can change your name, you know, if you feel a little shy, you can change your name and like put on an accent. Raphael, hey, do you want a non-duality question or a body-mind question? Whichever you like, Raphael. I'm happy that you know the difference. A lot of the time, people don't know the difference because they have this idea that that through liberating the body-mind of all its conditioning, or a lot of its conditionings or attachments, then it will become free. So Conrad has a question. Hey Conrad. Hi, how do I ground myself when I realize the spacious expansion of awareness? Sometimes I get super scared from the disembodied state. Much love, Conrad. What you believe, Conrad, is that it's your job to deal with the fear. So who is the one that believes it's dealing with the fear? So I've got to manage the fear. So I have these experiences, and then I've got to manage the fear. So that's the narrative that goes on in your body. That's the narrative that most people have about their lives. Like, I have to manage my life. Thinking is helpful, reflection is helpful. But in the end, what happens is a sinking back into what you already are and letting life move you. Like life is moving you. You are being moved by life. So this idea that you have to navigate the fear, you have to do something about the fear, is a story that you're telling yourself, and it will either produce shame or joy, lack of control or feeling very in control, and it will more than likely be around the feeling of the solar plexus. But really, it's a happening. It's not your job to deal with the fear. The fear is a happening. And there is this huge spaciousness in which it appears in, and it's never affected. That which you are cannot be consumed by that fear. That which you are cannot lose something from that fear. That which you are is still and free and alive and present and radical and so empty. And from that place, action happens, which could include contemplation. It could include running around the room and jumping, or doing breath work or Wim Hof. But in the moment, the place of refuge is what's happening, not what you think you should do, not what you've been taught you should do, not what others say you should do. This moment is the answer. It's always been the answer. And then life will be the way that life will be. There's wiser and less wise ways in which to live, and you can learn about that. But in the end, action should come from the expansiveness of this moment, not from a mental conceptualization of what you've been taught or what you know. Thank you, Conrad. So beautiful question. Hi, Monya. I hope I say your name right, Monya. Hi, Lisa. It's great to listen to you like this as always. Thanks, Monya. What is the first thing to teach to somebody that is completely unconscious? My mother, she is miserable and makes everybody around her miserable. Much love, Monya. I'm not laughing at your mom being miserable, but I'm laughing at that's everybody's question in a way. How to deal with the others. The others. Yeah, it's painful. On the human level, I also get sad sometimes about other people's suffering. About family members suffering. It's sad to watch them suffer. And we always want to find a solution because this will relax our chakras and this will make our body-mind feel more contented. So same here, I sometimes ask and sometimes think about ways in which to make the other more happy. I compromise myself in behavior to try to make the other more happy. And these are all dynamics that come from strong human conditioning. But in the end, the best thing that you can ever do for anybody is to be happy yourself. Because I believe from my experience, although this is not scientifically proven, and I don't know if this is true the world over, is that people pick up on energies. They're trying to talk to someone or trying to convince someone could have an effect. But if they were really interested in exploring this, they would have. But it's to know who you are, to know that emptiness, to every moment come from that place of emptiness. Allow this moment to act, rather than to be acting from a seeking timeline of a person that's trying to get to a place in the future that will bring happiness and will bring freedom. It doesn't necessarily mean not acting out of your conditioning. In a way, that's inherent. So like our desire as humans to make other people happy, you could say is a conditioning. It's the same as what the ants do. It's not necessarily a seeking. But that's very mental, and you don't need to understand that. It's like coming back to what you are now and being with them in that suffering. So they suffer. So you feel the pain of it. You feel the discomfort of it. You see the arguments, the chaos. And just one person in a family can really make a family chaotic. I know that from first-hand experience. Like one person being very emotionally unbalanced can make the whole family very emotionally unbalanced. However, it's not that one person's fault, and more than likely their most emotional imbalance is systematic. So it's coming from the system of the family, from the grandparents. But what you want to come back to is being in that pain with her. So there is this freedom, and then acting from that freedom and allowing that freedom to truly act out what it wants to act out. So not from a seeking energy of trying to force her to be happy, to try to change her from a seeking because that will make you happy in the future. But just allowing this moment to act, this emptiness to act through the human. This emptiness right now that is animating everything. It's not really you doing it, it's something that happens. It's a happening. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, that's a funny sound. Ah, 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 ah. It's a happening, innit, EC? Where's the chicken, woman? She's always after the chicken. If she was a human, she'd be a gold digger. But because she's a dog, she's a chicken digger. Her owner's a vegan, so it's all on its head. Life is the comedy of errors. I'm not a full vegan, I try to be a vegan, but there are accidents that happen, primarily through greed. Or you could say primarily because that's what emptiness is doing. Emptiness is eating a pizza. Emptiness is eating cheese. It's mostly cheese now I break on. Cheese, 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 cheese. She's not interested. She's an old lady. She surpassed me in age. This can happen with dogs. She is now in her 60s. I'm in my 40s. We started off that I was older than her, but now she's older than me. It's not linear between dogs and humans. Time is only linear in the human mind. And then it's very dubious anyway. Okay, I'm being a banana. Let's move on. So if you want to call me, put call me and I will call you. And calls get preferences. Thanks people for writing questions. I see here Osborne says Here is a question from Video Clips page. Hi Lisa, so beautiful. Please say something about avoid corona. Avoid corona. In the past I've avoided talking about corona because your videos get suppressed, but today, oh well. If I don't talk about it in every single video, I think it'll be okay. I won't get flagged. Maybe I can call it the C word oh no, maybe they'll think I'm saying that swear word. So you have algorithms looking through your videos, and then you get flagged. If you swear too much, if you do this too much, boopy doopy, boopy doopy. You don't actually get free speech on YouTube. It's only people that are watching YouTube that think that, but when you're a creator, you realize. So if we call it I can't call it the C word, the co. We'll call it co, like Coke, Coca-Cola, co. So can I say something about avoiding the co? When you really know that you can't die, then you don't need to avoid the co. You don't need to avoid the co. It happens or it doesn't happen. Death will come or it doesn't come. And then new life will form. It doesn't really exist. It's something that we're all telling ourselves. There is multiple stories of things happening in our society. And we focus in on certain things and we avoid other things. At the moment we're all obsessed, or society is obsessed with the the co. And you know, what about if our society suddenly got obsessed with lack of water, or how many people starve to death a day, or tuberculosis or AIDS in poorer countries? What if we reported how many people died and the news was obsessed with that every day? It's only because, in my opinion, it's the white men and women, sorry, not white men or women actually, because we're really multicultural now, because the Western nations are affected by this, that it's so big in the news. I'm not saying that the co doesn't seem to have a negative effect on a lot of people, but I would say it's most probably small in comparison to some of the other things that I've named, but we don't name that every day in the news because we don't see those lives as important. And that's the truth of it. But we see the Western lives as important. I mean, that's actually not the truth of it, because you can't have a truth of anything. That's just the opinion coming from here. But that's the opinion. And there's so many places you can go in the world where you could get so ill. And a lot of people do that and don't get ill. A lot of people do really risky things. The percentages of it aren't that bad. But I do understand it causes suffering. But shouldn't we be dealing with the other ones that are causing suffering before we deal with the co? Like, if we really cared about humanity and humanity suffering, why aren't we dealing with the starvation or the lack of water or the unfair distribution of funds? And if me speaking, I know that me speaking out like this, it's really controversial, and people think that it's a really negative thing in most cases. But why are we so outraged by this when it's happening all the time in the world? Is it because of skin color? Is it because they're other and they don't matter? And what about all the animals that are tortured in our society continuously, day in and day out, that we all know happens? What about all the clothes that we buy from sweatshops? Why is it that this one is so important to us? And then apart from that, I don't actually have any opinion on what we should or shouldn't do about it. But just that's what comes out here now, today. And then tomorrow there might be something else that comes out. Here is another question from the clips page. Hello Lisa, I love your talk. Can I ask whether you have read the book by David Cairns? Cairns says he hung out with Ramesh in India and they had a falling out. Cairns also claims to have the understanding. Did you like him? Yeah, I like Cairns, but that's always the way in these teachers. It's like, I understand, I've gone beyond, and then Ramesh says he's gone beyond, and then this person says this one's gone beyond, and it doesn't matter. It's like wasteless time getting into that. What matters is seeing what you are, whether the teacher has it or doesn't have it, or is enlightened or more enlightened or less enlightened, it doesn't matter. What matters is resonating with this emptiness, that everything is appearing and disappearing from this emptiness, from this no-placeness. That's what's important. I love Ramesh, and I love David, and I love Roger, and I love Tony Parsons, and I love Gangaji, and Ajishanti, and Umani, and Pamela Wilson, and Ananta. I love all these different expressions. Rebecca, Maroon, all these different expressions. And whether one is more than the other is like boop, 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 boop. Computer says no. It's just a resonance. Like if there is a resonance, if there is something deeper there, then just enjoy and bathe that, and then put all the comparison to the universities and the intellects. Thank you so much, Osborne. I'm so sorry that I'm saying your name the English way again. Asbion. Maybe I'm saying it right now. Asbion. Okay. Any call me's? Hi Merv. Hi Lisa. I have a question about how to deal with toxic or negative people, especially in your family. If everything is just happening and I'm just supposed to accept those negative people or negative situations, that's a question. I just suppose to accept those negative people or negative situation. It just feels so frustrating and draining sometimes. Like, I don't know how to deal with it. Thank you. Thanks, Merv. I don't know. Ich weiß es nicht. It's happening. Je ne sais pas. It's happening. Humans are complex. You could like read psychology and You could like investigate all those sorts of avenues of how to negotiate with people better. And you can explore yourself, like the resistance in yourself, the resistance in the chakras, that's one thing. But in the end, it's humans, and this is the current state of humans, and this is what it is to be a human, and we're stuck in it, so therefore it's what it is. And in the end, that can't take your happiness. If the body feels to move away, let it move away. If it feels to stay, embrace that, then let it. Like coming back to what this nothingness wants to do, rather than what the intellect wants to do. You can investigate and update the machine through all these things, and then it comes down to, in this moment, like what is it this moment wants to do? That can be very dangerous because people don't understand that often. So I've shied away from talking about that. Because often what they think this moment wants to do is seeking, or like, I want to scream at them and tell them what effing idiots they are. And Lisa told me to do that because she said, let this moment speak. And I went, get the knife out, stab, 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 stab. And actually, that wasn't quite what I was saying. But I can imagine that that could be interpreted that way. And then the lawyers come out in their little big buggies with their little sirens on, like, it is your fault. Let us take you to court. It's your fault. You told her to do what she felt like, and what she felt like was murder. If she'd been taught more about the conscious mind and stopping these impulses, then she wouldn't have murdered. So we love to find whose fault it is. Whose fault is it? Who is to blame? So I know that can be really misunderstood, but that's the ideal, is to just let this moment speak, to recognize who you are, that who you are is everything now, that this is everything, this is this orgasm moving, this is this orgasm drinking, that this is this light moving. It's like this is moving everything, and just like sinking into that and letting it happen. And that means, you know, it does mean maybe letting out some quirky, funky stuff. Like sometimes when that happens, like shadow stuff of the person comes up. It's a dangerous game. It's the game of madness. If you want to be safe and get on in this society, leave these talks. Go to a psychologist who can teach you and train you how to get on with other people better. And what your mum and dad did to you, which is helpful. I'm not knocking that. But I'm just saying what's being spoken about now is dangerous because it's often misinterpreted. And there is often a phase of when you let that up, the underworld comes out because we have everything in us. I can certainly say the underworld has come out of me a few times. Thankfully, it didn't result in murder. Although, yes, I can't talk about too many things online. Yeah. Okay, next question. So if you want to call me, just put call me. Hey, Lee Cooper. Sorry for saying a whole name. Maybe you didn't want everyone to know that. But you've got the same initials as me, LC. I'm an LC too. LCRC. Hi, Lisa. I'm struggling with the question, what do I want? I've spent a lot of time meditating on the question, and every time I get a different answer. The question comes up quite often when I meditate because it never feels like I found the correct answer. Well, Elsie, really what you want is to let nothingness out. So what you want is for nothing to act, nothing to move. But what can often happen in this process of waking up is we go into the personality and we have to unpick some of the conditioning that's been in there. Often when you don't know what you want on the personality level, it's because of conditioning early in childhood. And what you need to do is go to a psychologist. The psychologist isn't the devil, and specifically find someone that will help you work out what it is that you want and what it is you don't want. That's on the human level. And often you need to do that to let go, like to drop further down into letting no-thingness act. Because when you don't know what you want, then there's often unconscious seeking happening. So it's often coming out unconsciously, and there's unconscious seeking appearing. So that might sound really messy, what I've said. But you need somebody to help you on the human level work out what it is that you want and you don't want. Like, so you need to kind of conceptualize and see your person for what it is. And then underneath that, there is this tapping into nothingness speaking, nothingness acting, no-thingness, mystery acting. And it acts through the colours of those wants. So it doesn't mean that the human wants are irrelevant. It normally acts through the colours. It's like my personality likes animals, and so therefore nothingness produced an animal. But this is so complex, it's like so brainy, and you don't need to understand it. Just seeing who you are, and then go and get some help on the personality level. There's no shame in that. I've had loads of help on the personality level to lots of things. You sometimes need someone else to poke you in the ribs. Thanks, Lee, for your question. Hey, Kezia. Hi, Lisa. Call me. I'm in hospital post-surgery. I love your talks. I would like to ask you about physical pain and loss. Cassia. Okay, Cassia, I will call you.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, how can I ask you just how you say your name, please?
It's Kasia.
Cassia. Oh, nice. I got it right. Is that a Dutch name?
Yes. No, it's a Polish name.
Oh, it's Polish. Oh, nice. It's a really
Yes.
nice name, Cassia.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much for calling me.
That's okay. And sorry to hear about being in hospital after operation. I wish you health and getting better soon.
Thanks so much. So, life turned upside down a little bit, but it's all going to be better. And I think my life is going to improve. But at the moment, I'm in a lot of pain, and post-surgery, obviously, it's not nice.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it's going to be like that. It's all very new to me.
Yeah.
And it's just very interesting because I've got a lot of emotional release after surgery. So I cried all day long, even though I wasn't very sad. It's just the tears were coming and I couldn't stop them. And I feel much better emotionally, but physically there's going to be another few days before I can leave the hospital. But I'm glad I had the surgery done. It was a tough decision because I had to make the decision eventually myself that I want to have it done because I was suffering for so long. But now that it's done, it's just dealing with the physical part of it, and also loss, I suppose, because I lost one of my organs.
Right.
But my life will improve eventually. It's just this moment is very vulnerable, and I thought I'll ask you about that.
Yeah, totally. I can understand you feel super vulnerable. Like when you lose your physical ability on the human level, like it's intense.
It is.
So, I mean, like to be honest, throughout my life I've had relative good health. So when I speak about it from the human perspective, I've only ever had one operation, and that was on my wisdom teeth.
Okay.
And then I've just had like a few like illnesses like that put me in hospital. You know, I spent a lot of time in Asia, so a couple of times there, and then recently I fell on my head, which put me in hospital as well.
That's right, and I'm glad to see you in good form.
Yeah, thank you.
If you ever experience something out of your control where there's pain and your body is just in chaos, you will understand, I suppose. It's just everybody has a bit of that, and we have different pain thresholds as well.
Yeah, totally.
But it's just something to deal with, and I get very good painkillers.
Yeah, that's nice.
but it was making me absolutely crazy at one point. But they say it's normal. You just have to get through it.
The pain is making
the pain,
you crazy. Yeah, you see, I mean, like there's two places I can speak to from. I can speak from memory, or I can just let this like something come from this moment. Like, so if I speak from memory and I just talk about my recent accident, which wasn't exactly painful, but it was a very weird feeling. It felt like I was being split in two, like my body wanted to go two ways at one moment. Really, what I would say it felt like, but I never really said this out loud because I didn't want to worry people around me, was it felt like I was going to have a fit at any moment.
Oh.
Like, so it felt, I don't know if you've ever had a fit before. I only had one or two, I think, like when I had other accidents in the past. Like one time I had like allergic reaction to a sting I had in Thailand, and then I had a fit. And it was like that for a few weeks, and it was like that if I pushed myself, it felt like my body like was being torn in two. So it wasn't physically painful, it was just very weird feeling. And like what appeared here was just surrender to that. Like, so just like there's nothing you can do. And then also like the other stuff, like the doctors saying stuff like you could have a brain bleed in the next couple of days, like these types of things. So you just have to, like, you don't know what's going to happen, so you lose control. You can't really do anything. You're dependent on other people to look after the body. Like, that's so I wasn't like in extreme physical pain. So I don't know what it's like to be laying there and like be in absolute agony. And it's just surrender, like just not believing the stories which go into the chaos of it. So it's like the stories come up about the chaos or the pain, or that this pain is going to mean this, or that that's going to mean this, and just concentrating on the physicality of what you've got now. I know that's hard because you're in extreme pain, but like say when I was in the ambulance, I really wanted to vomit because I'd had hit my head, and because we were driving, and I really wanted to vomit. And so I just really focused my attention on the moving trees that I could see out of the window of the ambulance. Like just yeah. So I didn't really focus on my emotions or physical sensations because they were very uncomfortable. So there was just the focusing in on the trees. And that really helped. I didn't throw up.
Very good.
Yeah, and I kind of these types of details, this is my own personal experience from like what's happened. And I remember also when I had that fit in Thailand as well, it's just focusing on the detail. Because if you focus too much on the body, even though it's like not resisting the body and not resisting the pain, then that's what's a lot is in your consciousness. So to me, my focus was more focusing on what's outside of the body. like, because you can't really do anything about it. It is intense pain, or it is intense discomfort, or the body is doing really weird things and you don't know what it's doing. So that would be my coping mechanism in the moment of dealing with things, or that's what I remember, how I coped with it in the moment. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But that's right. I had a situation a few times where I was just taking in whatever is in front of me, just to focus on something, like on a drip, for example, just watching the little drops coming down, just to have something to do, just to pass till the next moment and the next moment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and not thinking about arrival. So it's not like, when am I going to arrive, or when this is going to be over. The mind will have tendencies to do that, but just focusing on what's around you. So that's what I would do for the physical discomfort. But I've never had that extreme pain that I can think of in my life right now. So that's that. And then if we come back to this moment, then it's like there can be some beauty in seeing that the pain is absolutely empty. But that also could feel to you at this moment like patronizing, or it could feel like insensitive. But that this pain, that everything that's happening is totally empty. So it's coming from no place. So our mind is connecting it to time. But in actuality, it's not coming from anywhere. It doesn't belong to anything. And it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. It's just this extreme sensation that's happening. You can see that's the way I project onto animals, that they're dealing with this. So like when my dog is in pain, or when I see other animals in pain, they're just completely surrendered to that. But it's not even them that's surrendered to it. It's just that there is extreme pain happening, but they don't have a sense that it's happening to them. They don't have a sense that it's been happening for like 5 hours. They're just really in the pain at that moment.
Wow, that is beautiful, Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overthinking it, I guess, and looking too far ahead can cause suffering. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Like I always feel like with Khaleesi, like I can kind of tell when she's in pain. Like I'm not really sure what it is, but she just goes very quiet, and I can just tell there's an absolute surrender in the body to that sensation. And amazingly, she actually, even when she's in pain, she can fall asleep in that, because there is part of the being that's very relaxed.
Yeah. And that's such a wise thing to do, to sleep through it as well.
Yeah.
Rather than sitting up and agonizing mentally about why is this happening to me and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to tell you, I have a doggy too, a border collie.
Oh,
She's
nice.
my little girl as well, and I think about her so much when I'm here, and that gives me strength.
Yeah.
Because I miss her. She's with my husband now, but just to see her little face is going to be such a reward.
Yeah. They're so beautiful, dogs. They're just like, this, here we are.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Pleasure, and I wish you health and love and the pain to subside.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just talking to you was very comforting. Thanks for taking the call and the time.
Yeah, pleasure. Lots of love to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Hope to hear you again. Bye.
Thanks, bye. Okay, this is Hannah. Question disappeared. Hello, lovely Lisa. Can you speak more on getting caught up in the mind-body loops? I am dealing with chronic physical issues, and I'm thinking that if I can release or reprogram my mind, my body will feel safe and healed. Thank you, Hannah. Hey, Hannah, I'm so sorry to hear about your physical issues, your chronic physical issues. I'm really sorry to hear about that. On a human level, that can be difficult to deal with. Sometimes what begins to happen on the human body, on the chakras, is when we have a disastrous situation or a difficult situation to deal with, like getting physically ill, is that the fear intensifies, that this is going to happen forever, that I'm never going to get better. All these stories, these negative stories, which are like fear-based, so they're sacral and solar plexus. And then what happens, so the fear happens, sorry, I got lost in there a second. So we have, all these negative stories that are running. So then we want to find a positive story to combat that. So then we get into non-duality, or we get into this subject, or we think if we program and release this, then it will heal us from these difficulties. And that's totally okay. It's picking up the chakra and it's making you feel better. But also just a registration of what it's doing. Just a registration that that's what the personality is doing. It's looking for hope, and hope is okay. But it's the opposite to the other story. And it picks up your chakras, and that's great, picking up the chakras, but it is the opposite to the other story. So you're trying to combat a story. And so you can also just be real with that right now I feel fear that I'll never get better. I can imagine that's really scary when you have a chronic illness. So just noticing all of that, noticing all of that happening, just allowing those different thoughts and noticing it all happening. But then also noticing that all of that stories, that right now your chronic illness, everything is appearing from this no place. Everything. And this is the most important thing. The most important thing is not being a healthy member of society that produces things for society. The most important thing is the connection to who you are. And what you are, which is this moment. And this moment is totally empty. This moment, it's all appearing from no place. It's all going to no place. It all means nothing. This moment is free. In this moment, you're not chronically ill. In this moment, you're not somebody that's been in bed for a certain period of time that may or may not get better, or needs to reprogram or not reprogram. In this moment, here you are. It's empty. And that which is experiencing this isn't a thing in time. It's not an idea, it's not a feeling, it's not awareness. You could say it's like the big consciousness, but that is empty. It's like no thing. It's not found, and yet it's everything. So just noticing what the human does, and then this openness to something so much deeper. It's totally, in a way, giving up on life, giving up on health and death and birth and getting and not getting. It's totally empty, this moment. It means nothing. It doesn't want anything. Nice, thank you, Hannah. It's beautiful. Apana, thank you for the last week interaction. I left with nothing to ask more, and it's a wonder for my body itself, attuning to I am, and old movies of me appearing and dissolving. Lots of love and gratitude. Thank you. Thanks, Apana. Nice. Your interactions with Khaleesi are hilarious. Give me the chicken, woman. That's Khaleesi. I'm like, just a little cuddle, please. No, chicken first. Please, please. Raphael. Okay. I have chronic pain since I was 12. It's so amazing sometimes how talks are themed. Like, I'm not picking all these questions out on chronic pain. It's just a comment. It's really amazing. It's like an energy. And he's not saying that he wrote this prior to me speaking to everyone. I just went down the list and saw. He wrote that at 2:50. It's now 3:30. Okay. I have chronic pain since I was 12, and the pain usually disappears when I meditate or feel the bliss beyond, the more around energy body. It's like giving myself permission to feel my underbelly, and from there makes decisions and feels grounded. But moving through life and dealing with people, I lose all the work I did previously. Taking time to meditate or just give my body to God to say, how can I stand my ground in my knowing of that power and that place of strength and awareness? God. I do that not out of anger and but just like, you know, these are difficult. Questions. I'm so sorry, Raphael, that you have experienced this pain. I feel like the greatest healer is knowing thyself in every moment. It's being really connected to this emptiness, that there is nobody looking now. And I do feel that in that, then the pain passes through easier, the body heals easier, the emotions heal easier, the personality is more balanced, whatever that is. We don't know what a balanced person is. Is it Osho? Wild, wild country? What was it that he said about Sheila when he found out that Sheila had screwed him, which I don't really believe happened? He's like, that fucking bitch whore! I have to admit, if I lose my rocks, I don't even know what that means, then my tendency would want to be to indiscriminately swear, because it's so impersonal. It's like, fucking bitch, whore, cunt, fuck, shit, motherfucker, cunt. Like, it's so potent rather than like talking about the actual situation. But hey. So yeah, we don't know what balanced personality is, but I feel like the only answer to everything is knowing yourself. Like, that's what really shifts stuff. You can have wisdom, you can go to psychologists, you can learn psychology. There's all this stuff on my reference page you can read, and my friends always recommend all this other stuff to me, which I don't read, but there is so much out there, and you can become wise. Wise men. I can't remember the song. That was a song I was going to go into, but Rise Man. But yeah, like, who is it that's watching now? Who is it that's experiencing now? Where does all of this come from? And every moment is a fresh moment. So you've got this story of yourself that you lose it in when you go into crowds and when you do things, and maybe that's true, and you can explore that and dissect that and look at the chakras and release emotions. But then this is a new moment, and that's not what's happened. This is totally fresh. This is a new beginning. Nothing's ever happened before, and nothing's ever gonna happen in the future. This is brand new. This is so wild and free. And this is everything experiencing, not something, not someone. It's brand new, this moment. There's never been a you there that did or didn't have pain, that lost it or didn't lose it. It's just here now. I remember like talking about stories, we just like debunk the story, and I'm going to talk about a story when I was with Roger Castillo, who was my teacher. I was in the flower bed with him. He was my partner at the time, and he was also my teacher. And I remember I was like, we were talking about non-duality, or we were talking about this stuff, and then I was like, at one point I was like, you don't understand how much I've suffered in my life, and I started to cry. And he just said that this is a story added on to the pain that you feel now. I remember that being so profound, and I really realized that. This is like I've suffered so much. It's my suffering. Just adding it on to all the other times I'd suffered, like making it more condensed, and that's not true. And then the next day when I wasn't suffering, he was like, because I think I was also saying like, I always suffer, there's always discomfort. It's like, are you suffering now? And I was like, no. Nice, thanks, Raphael. Hannah, thank you so much, Lisa. I really felt this deeply. Oh, nice, Hannah. Pleasure. Yes, Kay Smith, you can call me with a question. Hey.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
So nice to see you.
Yeah, I can't see you, but it's nice to meet you.
Oh, did I click the wrong button?
No, it's good actually, because then it gives me better internet if you don't see me. If I don't see you.
Oh, okay, great. I don't know why I get nervous and stuff.
Yeah,
so
totally.
silly.
Yeah, you can really take your time, until your nerves calm down.
Okay.
You don't have to hurry.
Well, I've been listening to you for years, so it was very nice on Father's Day to wake up and see you were doing a live stream.
Ah, nice. Are you a father?
Yes, I have two little ones, but they're with their mom today, but I'll get to see them later today.
Ah, nice.
So,
And you'll get some present. Either a drawing.
yeah, they always come up with something, but I told them, the real joy is just seeing them.
Oh.
I love it. But boy, it's so funny how the timing, it's universe just seems to, when you open up to it, things just seem to happen. It seems, which brings me to seeing you this morning and the topic you're speaking on and what people were asking about. Like I said, I've been following you for years, and just a quick overlays. Over maybe a year and a half ago, I had this moment walking into work where what where I was located just seems to move out into the world.
Mm.
And it was very peaceful, and it wasn't a big wow. It was just peaceful, and it just seemed there was no personal me that was seeking any longer. And it was just very impersonal, but it was just in everything. And I remember speaking to a colleague of mine, and just her face as she was speaking was where felt the feeling of located was out in everything.
Yeah.
And so that, lasted a little while and then went away. And so since then I had periods of that. And I had COVID last year, and I got really bad anxiety, and I never really had panic attacks ever, so I didn't know what had happened to me. And so I had 7 months of bad anxiety, and
that was a result of COVID. I'm sorry
yeah,
to
they
hear that.
said I had it early on, and so last June, and so there was no info coming out, and I didn't know what had happened to me. And from the isolation, and I guess they say 20% of people who get COVID can get mental illness like depression or anxiety. And so this was unbeknownst to me at the time, but it came out later. And so I spent the last year really working with that, and I'm way better now. But
good. I'm glad to hear.
yeah, it was really scary, but I think in retrospect, I really do think it was a gift from the universe, because it was so painful, and it was so I'd never experienced anything like that before. It was pure hell, mental hell. And but my only solace was looking in, was really just to look in. I felt the universe was just reinforcing, you need to look here. And the pain was so immense that I had to. There was nothing else that would really remedy it. So my life would turn into, I was just spending a lot of time going on spiritual walks, listening to spiritual talks, and living my life. But what I realized recently was, when I had these moments that would just happen where I would move out. I would call it beingness, like it moves out, this impersonal beingness moves out into the world.
Yeah, that's exactly what I speak about. There's this energetic shift to that.
I always heard you speak about it, but when it happens, it is the way you say it is, but in other ways, it wasn't the way I thought it would be. But I realized that was the personal me.
Yeah. And when it first happened to me, I never expected it to be like that. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, and when I go back to the personal me, I'm excited about it, and I'm realizing that's that personal me. It's getting excited, and it's the seeker, and it wants it back. But when I'm in the impersonal, what I call beingness,
it's just absolutely not caring.
Yeah, and it's so weird to move back and forth between the two.
Yeah, and there will you also won't recognize it all properly, like what's happening, because one thing you might notice from moving backwards and forwards is that you can't really, it's not like you can really see the personal me, or you can see seeking. It might be like that for you, but it's like it wasn't like that for me. Like it was like I couldn't exactly see the difference. Like I could see the difference at first, like when I first had these awakenings, like I could see the difference, but it's like you can't. It's not like you imagine like the personal me, like you'll be able to see it, you'll be able to glom onto it and say, okay, that's the personal me. Like you can't. It's not quite like that.
Yeah, no, that's very similar to me too, and that's what is kind of, it was a bit frustrating, because I think I don't know if it's the me or it's the ego. It's trying to see, it's trying to latch on to identify it, isolate it, identify what it, I can feel that happening, and that's kind of painful, because I know it's occurring, and I can't find the beingness sometimes again in that. But I realize also that's this personal me trying to seek out and find it. And it's only through relaxation that it may appear, and I just have to, my personal me has to understand that. And I think it's helped to a certain extent. It's mitigated the seeking, really, when I'm in this personal me.
Yeah.
But I saw that this anxiety And then this is where I kind of was curious in your commentary on it, because I really kind of want an organic awakening. Like, I don't read too much anymore. This happened to me, and I realized kind of what Sargadada had said, is that your own inner self is your guru.
Yeah.
And to allow it to happen organically seemed to be right for me. So I kind of just this would happen, and I saw that this anxiety seemed to be part of this personality structure or ego. It would happen simultaneously as part of the personality, because this beingness, all these things seem to appear in the beingness, the personality didn't seem to be, anxiety wasn't happening to the person. It all seemed to be one thing. And I was curious if you had any comment or perspective on that.
I would say maybe, I don't know your experience, but I would say maybe that that what you're talking about is that, in a way, the complete contraction to the anxiety, if we call it that, like it's like really deep contraction, and the beingness are really close together. That I feel that complete contraction, it's like it happens, these panic attacks often, when it's really close to the person crumbling. Like, so it's like that, like it's really close together. That fear, it's like the opposite to that love or that intimacy or that expansion. It's like they're right next to each other, ironically. It just doesn't
So do you
feel
like
it.
The personality feels threatened in some way or something?
I would say that maybe what's happening is, like, when you have that expansion, like physiologically, what happens in your body is like death signals are being put off in your body, and like that you're gonna die. It happens to me when I smoke weed sometimes. Like I'll be smoking weed and my heart will start racing, like, or going really fast. Like, that's not just that; that's also to do with blood pressure and other things. But like, I can feel that there is this, like, feeling that my body is saying you're going to die. And then what can happen is the person believes in that. So when I'm like, because I'm such a lightweight and I can't take smoking joints or drinking alcohol without it going straight to my head. Like, so it often happens when I smoke weed that I smoke too much. And then I get this, like my body like starts, like my heart goes like and like my blood pressure goes down or something. But so the body starts indicating that, but I know it's not true. So there's something so deep that knows that I'm not going to die. It's fine. So then it's like it lasts for like 5 minutes or something, and then it's like I really enjoy it, like the whole trip or whatever's happening. But it's like the body goes into this, and so when that's happening, the panic attack's happening, is there is a belief that you're going to physically die and that there's somebody there that's going to die, and it's not true. So your body's having a physiological reaction. It could be that it's having a physiological from deep unconscious thoughts, but it could also be that that expansion is creating it, because you did say they seem to happen simultaneously at the same time. So it could be there's unconscious beliefs in the system, but it could be that there is this awakening's happening, the body is relaxing, and then the body is saying I'm going to die, and then there is something in the seeking pattern that then believes that, so it believes I'm going to have a heart attack or whatever the panic attack is about. Like, so I know fine when my heart starts doing these like very intense beeps that I'm just getting high, that I'm not going to die from that. But I could imagine another person could go into a panic about having a heart attack, or like, I don't know if you've ever smoked weed and had these sensations before. Like, it's a similar thing, I think. But there is a belief that something bad is going to happen to you in those panic attacks, and that's not true.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. You have a sensation that the ego gets really scared about because it feels scary, and then it just takes over. It panics because it feels a sensation, and then it comes up with some interpretation of it that's just catastrophic.
Yeah.
In the background, I know it's not true, and that has really helped, because when I saw it from beingness, and I saw that it appeared that even this personal me and its worry about this anxiety, the beingness was appearing even as that. It was that's how it appeared, that it was appearing as I'm located in everything, and it's even appearing as me experience this personal me experiencing this. It just seemed, and it was just like, it felt like a veil was taken off, like, oh wow, it's even appearing as that.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
But when I enter that, when that leaves for whatever reason, I don't maintain that. And then I wake up like I can't breathe from the COVID. I'll get panic attacks in the middle of, not so much panic attacks, but I do wake up with anxiety. And
Have you ever tried massaging the lower bit of your stomach? And you feel like you can't breathe from COVID. Do you still have the shortness of breath from COVID? Is that like a long-term effect, or is it to do with the panic?
It's the panic. It's the anxiety. I got this where I couldn't breathe, from a sinus infection from the COVID, and it was never real. It was never that I couldn't breathe, because I went to the hospital and they're like, "You're fine," and I realized it was just this triggered anxiety of the feeling that I couldn't breathe.
Yeah. If you had the inclination to, if you went to a really good osteopath, and they might, if they're really good and they really understand the body, they might be able to help shift that. I suspect, like, what's also simultaneously happening in that is your stomach is becoming all contracted, and your breath actually physically can't get down properly. So your breath feels really short. So your body, your lower bit, your muscles, your organs are maybe like swelling a little bit, like they swell when they're agitated or irritated, like the bowels. Then your muscles contract, and then it stops you actually being able to get breath down. I don't, like, if I eat too much tomatoes in the summer, I love tomatoes, and in the south of France they have the most amazing tomatoes. It's like, oh God, they're like heaven. A little bit of olive oil and salt. But this creates this swelling of my intestines and my stomach, and then my tummy gets all tight, and then I feel short of breath often, like if I walk up the hills or something. And this can often happen, like, so everything begins to get out of balance. So you've had the panic attacks, and then it also disbalances your body and creates these types of things, like your bowels get irritated, because like they say, when you're scared you shit yourself, like the bowels get irritated, and then maybe food you eat's irritating. It all could be combined. And if you went to a really good osteopath, they might be able to detect that and help work and release muscles, and it might help with the panic as well. But you have to be a really good one.
With that, for sure, yeah.
Like, that's really, like, knows themselves. I have a friend that's an amazing osteopath in Belgium, but I don't think you could fly over to Belgium for a session with her.
Yeah, it might be an issue currently. Maybe they can Zoom. But do you, again, these things happen, these moments where this beingness happens, and then of course, as I'll enter the personal. I'll be the personal me for a while, or whatever days or weeks, and I may have these issues arise, like the anxiety or whatever, and I do have a grounded knowing that I know it's not. It's this, like, I maintain this belief that I know beingness is there. I just can't see it right now, because for some reason I'm so enmeshed or ensconced in the personal me, and I can't. I know I've had many moments of this beingness, but for some reason this personal me ego is so strong. I don't know if it's because of daily circumstances that it reinforces it, but it really can be painful, the knowing of beingness. And I know this is all happening. That beingness is the ultimate reality, but it seems to become just now an intellectual thought. And I know you've gone through this. your awakening, and do you have any recommendations for that?
No, I really don't. Well, like, so if I speak about it on the personal level, I don't. But if you just give me a moment, like, so if when I say
Sure.
personal level, I think about my thinking.
Sure.
It's all conceptual that creates the problems. Like, it's conceptual that there is somebody that is in pain and that's going through time, but it feels very real to you now. Like, so that it's this stickiness with the concepts. Like, it's this stickiness with the ideas of the me, with the ideas of the time, with the ideas of the struggles, with the ideas of the problem. And I know that presents itself as really real, but it's really not true. Like, you are this beingness which is here, everywhere, and everything now, and it's totally empty. It's going nowhere, and it means nothing. Like, nothing means nothing. Like, who is it that knows that the person comes back? Who is it that knows the beingness? Like, it's like an endless labyrinth that only can end in laughter. Like, it's craziness.
Your words are just so spot on.
I know it looks like it's Lisa's words, but it's really not Lisa's words.
What you just said there, that was the thing that hit me one night as I came back from my walk. I just said there is, to any question, who is it that knows this?
Yeah, totally.
Who has this knowledge that you're seeking that will awaken you?
Yeah.
And it was just being this being.
Yeah.
That happens, but and I actually feel it, like it feels like it. I know you said it moved out from your head into the world, and I feel this kind of very soothing pull that moves out into the world or into my experience.
Yeah.
But it just, over this past year and a half, those moments, and then it does the complete opposite. Yeah, and that, I wouldn't say I do realize it's the person. It becomes, realize that it is the personal me wanting something other, and that and so I do try to just relax in the moment and not get pulled in any one particular direction. But I guess just speaking to you now, I realize that it's become more subtle. I'm trying to relax, but secretly I do want it to go. I want the beingness.
Yeah, totally. Like, when the person's there, it always wants something for itself. So it's just noticing, like, also what's happening in this conversation is it's non-intellectual. Like, I can speak intellectually, like, so the body mind can speak from memory. Like, I can say to you, yesterday I went to the shops, and in a way that is nothingness speaking as well, but it's like involving more thinking aspect. And then there can be this like other speaking that happens, and I think when this other speaking happens, it's like there's a resonance that's happening. It's like nothing speaking to nothing, like two emptinesses speaking to two emptinesses. Like, what's speaking now is the same as what's hearing there.
Yeah. So did it for you? Did a transition happen to where to beingness was more the predominant knowing? Like, because it seems to flip back where it quickly translates into a personal intellectual belief that, oh, this is how beingness works, and this is how, and but that seems to be for the majority of time, that seems to be the prominent.
Yeah, I can't really tell. I can't really tell. What it feels like is it feels like sorry, my partner just came in. So it feels like this cannot be unknown, like this is. So it feels like it's there's that. I can say that the characters like had an evolution over the years since it happened, but I don't know if the person's meing and being, I think that's what it's called, meing or being, like that's impossible to detect. I can't detect that anymore. It's like, that just seems absolutely irrelevant. I don't really think about it. I only think about it because people ask me. So when people ask, I know. So, yeah. But certainly my
Yeah.
character's been through like a lot of changes in the last 10 years and evolved loads. And like dark stuff's come out of the Lisa character, shadow stuff, nice stuff, beautiful stuff, understanding, like learning lots of things. That seems like a never ending. But be it like if I'm flip flopping anymore, I can't really tell. I don't know how I would tell that.
Yeah, and I guess just again, talking to you and listening to you, it seems to become more obvious that these are just the personal me seeking in these very more subtle ways, seeking to know why this and why that and what it can do to avoid or make this happen. That's what it seems.
Yeah, that's what I want. And then
Well,
we
great.
laugh.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I think it's just so refreshing to hear you this morning. So thank you so much for what you do.
Yeah, with pleasure. Have a beautiful Father's Day.
Oh, you too.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
It's so nice that America and Europe's Father Day is the same. Normally Mother's Day isn't, and I never know that it's Mother's Day, and I messed it up this year. I forgot. Okay. That's enough for today. So thank you. If I didn't answer your questions, thank you for writing your questions in. And I shall vermoose about the house. I shall move. No, I shall leave. That's what that interprets. It's Scottish, I think. Vermoose about the house. I don't know. My dad was Scottish and he always used to say that. Vermoose about the house. Could be Canadian. Sounds also Canadian. Yeah. Anyway, I wish you everything. And it's not just one thing or two things or three things. I wish you everything. And I shall see you next Sunday. Lots of love.